All right, so phase one checked off the box. We are done and leaving the Sydney County. Sydney City, Shelby County. I had those mixed up for so long. I knew it was Shelby County, but I didn't know it was county. I knew it was Shelby, but I thought it was Sydney County for a while. Anyway, I decided, by the way, that I was not going to take a trip back to Lockington and go through the reminiscing. There it is. I chose not to go back to Lockington and reminisce upon the days of future past. Okay, that was just an X-Men quote. Days of times past. But I think it's because I have every intention of being back there one day. So you won't get a visual of the home as of this moment. However, one day I'm sure you will. So we are done and over, and we are done and over with that chapter. Sydney City and Shelby County chapter is closed. We are moving on. I'm headed to my cousins and cousin-in-law. I consider it brother-in-law, really, right? Brother-in-law and cousin out to the edges of Indiana. We're going to Valparaiso for a little bit, maybe a day, two, just to get out, I suppose. I didn't really have any other means to go out there besides to visit, just to go out and come back. The other main visit will be my buddy in Worcester, which will be tomorrow or the following day, Wednesday. That's what you guys need to be staying tuned for. This part of the journey is more or less selfish family connection reasons. However, my buddy of mine will most certainly be a good time for you guys to listen up, pay close attention. It will be the first podcast that I will be inductinating into the whiz of fame. By the way, the gym session was absolutely phenomenal. If you saw my story or my reel or my whatever on Facebook, probably the first time I've been into a gym where there was nobody there in probably a good 2 years. Last time I recall that was a December 31st, was a New Year's Eve night when I went there like 10, 11 o'clock at the gym. There was obviously nobody there, and I just had a blast. Excuse me. Yep, it's still not, I'm not sick, but little feather in the throat, as you can hear. Anyway, so moving on, I wanted to get into the act of the let's see, what are we going to do? We're going to call it the upgrade. So in the past video, I talked about the first step or two being one, connection to the Father, atonement with the Father, connection to the higher power. If it's not for you, which I don't know how you can get by without it, by all means, you could try and skip that step. In my mind, the next step is forgiveness, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, forgiveness of the past, forgiveness of the parents and family and friends, people that have wronged you in the past, and accept where you are in life, accept where you've been in life, essentially, accept how you got to where you are today. Forget the past. Don't necessarily forget the past, but accept the past. Grow through the past. It's not about forgetting anything. It's about making amends and growing through the history that you went through, right? I've forgotten, essentially, about what I had done based out of Sydney and Shelby County for the past 7 years. And now that I've taken upon myself to accept the storyline, the rest of the story piece that I must overcome, right? Whatever it may be, basically just a fine. I can move on. I have that weight lifted off, and I am good to go. So I think I had another thought in my head before moving into like the present moment. There is then that's kind of like what I just mentioned. So after forgiving yourself and accepting your past, you then have to go through the turmoil, the repercussions, the consequences of, shoot, hang on, I might have missed my exit. Yep, I missed my exit. We'll just add on another 20 minutes there. So, accepting your story and dealing with the consequences. So my consequences have been 7 years of federal law-abiding turmoil, so to speak. I'm not even sure what to call it. I'm not used to it very much. But essentially, I have had to suffer the consequences of every single time I am driving by police. They are free as a bird to scan the plates and pull me over, plain and simple. You deal with the consequences that are presented to you. And this goes as far back as accepting where you were born, the body you were born in, and who you are, no matter what the consequences are. This can be genetic or not, either environmental or genetic. I know it's a lot harder for some people to accept the genetic consequences, whether you're black, white, gay, straight, tall, thin, fat, short, tall, short, fat, skinny. Like, guys, it does not matter. Does not matter. Right? You accept who you are and you grow from it. Plain and simple. All right? I've got mine too. My environmental, I just went through it. My genetics, sexual identification crises. Plain and simple. It's just confusion to the max. If you don't know, now you know. So just accept what you have been served. Grow from it and move on. Plain and simple. Once you move on, you begin to make the plan of action. State Highway Patrol, give me a sec. You begin to formulate the plan of action. That consists of I'm trying to think of the specific names in the program. I believe the first step of the program is dagnabbit, what's the first step? I'm supposed to have these memorized. Right, so I've mentioned this before. Once you've made due with atonement with the Father, it becomes much easier to accept the role of apparently. This is something I'm having a big struggle with myself. But fasting, the very first step, once you are right with your soul and the provider of the soul, you must fast. And this is not just from food, I don't think. This is fasting from all addictions, all short-term pleasures, and all what is known as effeminate behavior. These short-term addictions, these short-term pleasures, the short-term gratifications that we all have, whether it be gluttonous pleasures to food, video games, sex, drugs, alcohol, and then some. Sleeping, right? Some of us sleep in too much. I'm going to go ahead and double check on my time here. All right, so once we get our effeminate behaviors in check, I don't want to say make a list. I haven't gotten into the making of the list yet, but I would suggest, if it's not provided to you, make a list of all of the effeminate behaviors. And sometimes you've got to step back for a moment and really be objective about what these behaviors are. Some of us, one of the ones I'm trying to justify now or understand that it is becoming a problem is my money spending, right? I'm getting the attachment towards material items, right? So instead of spending money on drugs and alcohol like I used to, now I'm just spending money on things, on just other stuff, because I do have a little bit of extra cash, as I expected myself to. But now I'm just Amazon.coming it up and making purchases for things that I would like to think that I need. But I mean, gosh, this very shirt was $5. Couldn't pass it up. No chance that I'm passing up this shirt for $5. But it's clothing, right? I don't need clothing, really. I kind of wanted it, and I don't have one, so boom, I bought one. So there's a lot of gray area when it comes to effeminate behavior that we need to subjectively step back and objectively realize that we're definitely that it's definitely short-term pleasure-based, right? There's lots that can go into this. This is a whole different topic to go on about. But once you get these effeminate behaviors out of your system, once you break free from these behaviors, and the time scale is, I would say, a good time frame to stay connected to, and this is not for all effeminate behaviors. Most effeminate behaviors, aside from eating or fasting, take weeks and months and sometimes years to get over, right? Drugs, alcohol could be years before I actually feel the non-attachment ever again. But food is one attachment to where we can take off a mere 3 days, right? They say fast for 3 days, and hands down, from experience, you will feel clarity to the max. You will feel an absolutely profound visual acuteness towards goal setting, purpose, just a very acute awareness of the surroundings around you, of what is going on, whether it be physical or emotional or non-tangible. You're very aware. Unlike I know I should know these words by now, and I should just be going off on this tangent without any problems speaking the way I do. But without any setbacks, I should be able to just, where am I going with this? After 3 days of fasting, you'll have very much clarity. I know I don't sound like I do. It is 3 days for me. It is the third day, by the way. I stopped eating Friday night at 9 o'clock. It is now Monday Monday at 1, so I'm probably on the 60, 61, 63 hour mark, right? And it's between maybe 48 and 72 hours that you really start to see clarity. I'm going to pause now since I'm getting off the mic. All right, I'm back on track here. I also wanted to make a side note. Another very important part of the process of forgiveness of the self and acceptance of your past is obviously gratuity. Being grateful and being grateful, folks. You've got to be grateful. Be gracious, be thankful, and that's where the higher power comes into play. Because until you can accept that there's a higher power, I don't know what you're being grateful to or for. Yeah, you can be thankful in general, overall, just well-rounded, like physical attributes. But there's so much more to be thankful for. There's so much more in life to be thankful for. So God's mercy and grace is probably the biggest aspect of life that I am currently grateful for. Forgiveness, mercy, and grace. And that's not just God's, but the city of Sydney, Shelby County in general, and overall. So anyway, as you move on with the acceptance of your own life and moving forward through removing negative temptations, removing effeminate behaviors, removing the short-term pleasures that are just, dare I say, useless most of the time, folks. It's not like we had video games. By golly, about the only thing that is fundamentally necessary, but still overplayed in today's populace is sex, right? We can all get addicted to whether it be sex, porn, or masturbation, or some form of there in between. But it is the most intrinsic, most basic, fundamental action that a human hawk right on the ground, just soaring right next to it. Action that that humans incorporate into lives naturally, right? So it's natural, I understand. But it's not natural. Like sex may be natural, but how humans go about it is there's most certainly a right or wrong. Masturbation is not natural. Straight up, just plain and simple. Beyond that, food is the next most abundantly clear version of an addiction, of an effeminate behavior, of an attachment to just gluttony, right? Gluttony is probably a better word to use than addiction. It's just over-attachment to certain things. So food, once you get through that 48 to 72 hour period, clarity and acute awareness really start to take a hold of what you want to do and how you want to do it. I prefer, I just did it. I'm actually glad I got lost because it allowed me to stop recording and realize that what I needed to do is offer up myself, basically through meditation, through prayer, through complete I would say self-release, right? I do not want to be the governing force of, when I say I say, I don't want to think. I don't want to think my way through the decision process of deciding what to do with my life, right? If you've been following me long enough, you'll know that the journey that I'm on, the vacation that I'm taking is for a reason. It's not just, go out and travel and see people. I want to get out and realign myself, realign my soul self with what the higher power wants me to do, what God's will wants me to do. I don't want to have to think hard upon this. I don't want to have to actually start scratching my head and think, what is it that I want to do? Scientifically, the closest that I can come to this is to fast for 72 hours, wake up in the morning, get out the journal, and start writing. So come tomorrow morning, the only way that I can justify an atheistic standpoint is this so-called fasting and journal jotting. You're not even thinking. You're really just letting the pen and the hand just write. You think of a question. This is the next step in the process. So come tomorrow morning, my plan is to, first thing in the morning, wake up, bust out the pad and paper. I want to have a question being, what is God's will for me in said specific aspect? So whether it be personal development, whether it be health and fitness, health and wellness, finance and wealth, relationship, whether it be spiritual, whether it be family, or whether it be connection outside of family, and family and family. I'm gonna call everybody my family. I can't think of the word. Yeah, that's bad. See how bad my clarity is right now. Still not there yet. But I'll get it later. The other word I forgot in one of my other videos was dyslexic, which is dyslexia, essentially. I get a lot of words mixed up and just backwards sometimes. My family and my relatives, right? Relatives. Is that the word I'm looking for? Relatives. Yeah, I guess so. So anyway, connections via spiritual, connection via family, connection via family and relatives, and connection outside of that. Beyond that, there is, I gotta think. There's about 8, right? There's about 8 different aspects to life that you want to basically write down for a good 20 minutes each. What you want to do, what God's intention is for you to do. And that's the thing. Atheists will say that it's just your own mind speaking through the pad and paper. And I don't think I'll be able to justify it here. What the difference is between how I used to do, how I used to write down the so-called soul goals, and how I used to and how I will be doing it tomorrow. Because I want to be of the mindset that it is a spiritual, profound difference, right? I don't just want to scientifically go about this and have my mind be in charge. I want my spirit, I want my soul, I want my God's self to take charge of this. And this is something that I will be struggling to prove in these times, as my spiritual life is not 100%. It's not perfect. It's not great, and it would never be perfect. But I am newly fresh. I am freshly reconnected and offering myself up to the higher spirit. I have many questions. I have many old-time beliefs that I need to break habit from and break free from, and figure out a way to basically offer up my will over to God in hopes that He can take charge, or it, or whatever floats your boat. Beyond that, jotting down, that's the next step in my process. I want to jot down the goals, write down each and every 20 minutes of writing for each and every aspect of life that I have. Take out the most prominent 3 sentences, so to speak, and turn that into a so-called soul goal. That becomes the most important. That becomes like your purpose for each area of life. And then from there, you write out the thou shalt nots. Make sure you write out what you don't want to do in regards to your purpose. Everything that does not serve your purpose, you write it down. Make sure to stick by those commandments. They are your absolute commandments. Top 10, top 20, top 50 things that you just do not want to, that you want to stay away from, that you don't want to do. And once you do that, you formulate the plan. I've said this before in videos past. Once that is set in stone, the plan of action happens. You write out the daily routine, you write out the weekly routine, the monthly routine, and the yearly routine. You can do this up to 5, 10, and 20 years. It gets gray as you move on, but plain and simple, I want to get to planning out the next 2 seasons. I want to plan them out. I want to actually have a day-to-day process, a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month process until end of closing season at Camp High, essentially. Basically until August, September, probably November. What I want to do is go on a world packing adventure, right? So I invested in another program called World Packers. Worldpackers.com/app is an app that I downloaded on my phone, and I've been filling out a resume for the past 6 months, right? It's just a never-ending resume because it deals with work experience, life experience, travel experience, and that's just never-ending, and it takes a lot out of me because it's dealing with it's kind of how I want to write it out. So it's very, very personal, very, very opening. But essentially, I'm still writing it out. I thought I'd be done by March, and I wanted to get into it before getting into working at Camp High, but it just did not make way. This is as close as I got to a vacation. The next step of the process, what I want to do is make a goal to go on a World Packers adventure, traveling experience, and actually go out and help someone else. That is my goal. That is one of my main goals for this up and coming 2 seasons, right? Working at Camp High is essentially sacrifice. It is 100% sacrifice. I will be taking a pay cut. I will be taking a leadership upgrade. I will be working my ass off for someone else to build up their small business. I love small businesses. I want to build up small businesses. It is a canoe and kayak place, so it's more or less leisurely activity. But bigger picture, I live on the property. I live in a house that is owned by the same person that runs the business, canoe and kayak place. And the property is essentially a farm. It's a 170-acre property. I have plenty of space, lots of room for improvement. It is what was, the property itself was 50 years ago, an old camp, right? So Camp High, canoe and kayak. Technically 2 different businesses, multiple businesses, right? It's a very small ownership. Like, I know these people very well, and but there's multiple multiple, endless opportunity. Guys, I've been saying this ever since I've moved there, that there's endless opportunity there. So the ability to make a farm, the ability to have animals and make a exercise / some sort of gym / meditative retreat / whatever the heck you want. There is space, man. I live on acreage right now. I have property out the yazang right now. So property is not a problem. It's not my property, but it is a start. So this is the start of my dream. I will be sacrificing for the next 1 to 5, 10 years. I don't want to say God willing, but if I must, I could retire here. I prefer to have my own land, but quite honestly, there is so much space out here that I could do whatever I want. I could build on this property my own thing and give a portion of what I end up creating back to the owners, which is essentially what it's all about. You want to build for yourself and give back everything that you can. Sacrifice and serve what you can do, and all to give back, right? So, being as it's on her land, everything is for the owners. It is for them, and that is the overall goal and the overall purpose. So, too bad I can't write that down. Moving on. Moving on to what? Yeah, that's about it. That is the purpose, folks. That is it in a nutshell. I've got the next 6 months to work my butt off and realize how difficult life is really going to be for probably a significant amount of time. I think I'm going to wrap things up right there. I feel good about that. That was a really good ending right there. I want to save that for the rest. I've got a lot of open land out here. Oh, look at the turbines. Can you see them? Whoa! This person on the side of the road. But yeah, we got wind turbines and lots of space, and I just kind of want to enjoy the moment and see what God has to offer now. Love you all. Live expressively. This is The Wiz. Carry on my wayward sons and daughters. Love you all. Wiz Nation. The Wiz is out.